Hello, everyone. Welcome to Cherry the Geek TV. I'm Joe Vanourney. Today we are talking with Chris Merola. He is the writer, director, and producer of a fantastic new film. It's called Lemonade Blessing. It's having its world premiere at the Tribeca Film Festival on Thursday, June 5th, with additional showings throughout the festival leading up to the screening on June 15th. Chris, welcome to Cherry the Geek TV.
Thanks so much for having me, Joe. I'm super excited.
First of all, let me just start off by telling you it's a fantastic film. Folks, you don't want to miss this one. You're going to be talking about it. This is going to get a lot of buzz coming out of the festival. You hit it out of the park.
Oh,
Can't
thank you
can't say
so
enough good
much.
things about your film. Give people kind of a Cliff Notes summary description. When you're describing the film to people, how do you set it up?
Absolutely. Yeah. So, Lemonade Blessing is a coming of age film set in 2012. We got this child with divorce. He's sent by his devout mom to this buttoned up Catholic high school where he falls for this rebellious atheist girl who has him commit sacrilegious dares in order to further their relationship. So, chaos ensues. What would you do for love? Trying to love two different people who both want you to be someone completely different. You're just pulled in two completely different directions.
What was the inspiration for the film? How'd you come up with this idea?
I just had this image that kind of popped into my head in like 2019 of just like a Eucharist wafer plopping in a toilet bowl, and there's a boy with his pant legs bunched around him, and he's just looking down at it, looking really guilty. And I was like, that's an interesting image. Okay, file that one away. And then I went to USC, and I during the program I thought it would be imperative that I wrote a bunch of features by the time I graduated. So Lemonade was the first one I sat down to write. I basically listed a bunch of kind of memories, feelings that were pertinent to me during my adolescence. And I was kind of looking at them and I noticed there's commonalities. It seemed like there was a really strong theme of, feeling shame about growing into a sort of sexual being and how that was implicated in my relationship with my mom and the faith that she had raised me with. And so I realized at that moment that I could link it with that image I had, which is, I could find a way to externalize these internal feelings of sexual guilt by having a kind of measurable narrative device where as the relationship proceeds, so too does the sacrilegious dares kind of escalate, and thus like all the guilt and the awakenings, they can all be merged together. And that's kind of when I figured I had something on my hands.
I've read that you've said that every film has a skin and every film has a soul. Tell people watching what you mean by that and what is the skin of Lemonade Blessing and what is the soul?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, listen, it's a business. You got to advertise these things. You got to get people. You got to get butts in seats, right? And I think people are more likely to want to watch, a super bad for a new generation than they are, wanting to sit down and reckon with like childhood trauma and how we deal with divorce and how that affects our first love experiences. So, when I crafted Lemonade, it was really important that we had a nice skin on this thing, right? We wanted the surface of the film to be beautiful, sacrilegious, raunchy, fun, exciting, propulsive. And so, the skin of the film is kind of like, is this kid going to be able to, continue this relationship? How is he going to be able to, round all the bases essentially? And then the soul of the film is kind of more so all the pains that are underneath this, like why he's pursuing these things. It's about conditions of worth, right? Like, will my parent love me if I'm not the thing that they want me to be? It's also about the ways in which like young men receive and internalize sexist messaging, right? Like you're going to these Catholic schools where they're kind of like baby breeding factories, right? They're like everything that the administration tells you is about pull out your chair for girls, make sure that you don't break them. Their urns, you could break them, make sure you maintain their purity because all they're good for is popping out more customers for this school, basically. So it's kind of a little bit about that. That's a bit of the soul. And then it's also just about like figuring out what one's internal voice is. If you're sort of a people pleaser and you're putty in your own hands, always reshaping yourself, what happens when you're trying to love two people who both want you to be someone completely different? What truths come out of that? So yeah, the hope is that people go to Lemonade looking for a really fun, adolescent, awkward cringe fest, and they walk out maybe thinking about their own upbringings and their own relationships with their parents and their first loves.
I think you nailed it in the execution of this. I think the balance is perfect. Uh, I don't laugh out loud a lot at movies, uh, but I literally, I'm not kidding. I laughed out loud at least 40 to 50 times at your film.
Holy hell. Oh my God. That sounds
The
great.
dialogue is perfect. Like the kids are real, and that soul that you're talking about, uh, that's what makes the humor work. It's genuine and it's authentic and it's like legitimately funny. And then you care about the characters because there is this soul behind it, and you like you have an experience after having watched the film. So kudos to you.
Thank
Let's
you
talk
so much.
about your casting. Two
Yes.
amazing young leads, Jake Ryan and Skye Alyssa Friedman. What qualities did they have that made you say, yes, these are my two actors to play John and Lilith?
You know, they're so freaking fantastic. I mean, it was such a no-brainer. But the thing that really helps is having character differentiation in your script where, you know, John's coming from a sort of parentified household where, his mom was lacking certain things in her marriage. And so she relies on her son to sort of extrovert his feelings and be like, I'm there for you. I'll reassure you. Yes, I'm excited to go to school. I love you. Everything's great. Whereas, Lilith comes from more of a background that's like repressive. It's like the dad is the boss. You can't view certain things. You have to be certain things, And so she very much learns to hide her feelings. And so she's very much got a lot of armor. So what I was looking for with the cast was just people who could map onto these qualities, right? So for Skye, it needed to be someone who could realistically guard themselves the way a teenager would, someone who's self-mythologizing, building themselves up with these lies, pretending to be more experienced and worldly than they actually are. And yet for the adult viewers, she could let through just a little crack, a little chink in the armor to be like, well, you know what? She's obviously not, she doesn't have it all figured out. She's just going about this in much the same blundering way as John is. It's just that John wears his heart on his sleeve and he's willing to be vulnerable. He's willing to have his emotions show on his face at every step of the way. And so that's really what I was looking for. And Jake I had already known about from eighth grade. I saw him in 2018 and I really fell in love with him. He was only in like two scenes in that movie, but I never forgot him, dude. I never forgot Jake telling, Elsie Fisher that he's like, I have all the sauces, whatever you want for the chicken nuggets. I just loved him. He's so charming, so self-disclosing. And Skye just absolutely knocked it out of the park with her self-tape. She just she had such an intensity about her. She was so internal, and I really saw her thinking and I saw her feeling in a way that I, as an adult, could see these things, but I could see how a 15-year-old boy would think that she's absolutely inscrutable. You know?
We also have to mention Jeanine Serralles, who plays
Oh my God, yes.
John's mother. What a wonderful performance as well. Talk about casting her.
Jeanine is so stupendous. With that role, it was an offer only role because we were going for more experienced actors. So I had to, really study all the different demo reels of all the different people before I made that decision. And the one thing that struck me about Jeanine is I have never seen someone who just takes the most big swings with their roles, where like she is so willing to be vulnerable in everything that she does. I found myself feeling so much kind of sadness when I watched. She played these really bold characters in all of her stuff that were very, very vulnerable. They very much just bled on screen, and I just was like, I need someone who's going to ground this character who lays down the law, who many viewers are going to not understand or relate to her intense religiosity, but I need someone who can carry the sadness of a failed marriage, and the hope that her son could maybe not end up an asshole like his father, and she really was the person for that. And it didn't hurt that her and Jake had actually already played mother and son in inside Llewyn Davis when Jake was really really young. He's like that kid at the cereal bowl. She's like Oscar Isaac's sister, being like, "Don't cuss in front of my son." So it's kind of just perfect.
Awesome. I'm curious, what were your influences growing up, right? What are the films that inspired you, filmmakers that inspired you, and were any of those influences uh, uh, directly influential in making Lemonade Blessing?
There was a ton of little influences. One that was maybe a little out of left field is just Monty Python. I really think that the rhythm of the edits in Monty Python, the way they remove music for a gag, was very influential for me growing up. I was like a raised by internet YouTube kid, and I would always make skits where the joke would be that some sort of emotion would build, and then you'd hard cut, and the music would be pulled out. It reminds me of that shot in Monty Python where the guards are standing in like medium, and then there's some guy like all the way far away, like running, and it's got like the drums. It's like the dum 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 dum, and it cuts to the guards, and there's there's nothing, and it cuts to him, and he's still just as far away. Dum 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 dum. The guards. Dum 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 dum. And all of a sudden, he just leaps out into the shot and just like stabs the guards. Like it makes no sense, and it's so fucking funny. I love that gleeful visual humor, and I feel like those guys are just legendary for that. Um, from like a performance standpoint, I always really love the rhythm and the authenticity and the almost like stage like quality of like Greta Gerwig and Noah Baumbach's performances. So I definitely was trying to emulate that kind of New York neurosis, that rhythm where it's like we're fast paced and we're sharp and we're talking and it's real, but there's still just a little bit of a theatrical quality to it. There's just a little bit of elevated. These kids are a little smarter than maybe they would be. Otherwise, they're actually like, 15-year-olds. And then visually, I really love subjectivity and rooting things into characters' perspective. Like the self-absorption of adolescence is really interesting to me. And so I wanted to make sure that the film was very much tighter than your average comedy, right? There was a world where we could have done this very Judd Apatow. It was just wides and medium wides, and we just let it play. But I was really influenced by the Safdie brothers in that regard, where it's like, I love the intensity of getting wrapped up in someone's experience and feeling like anxious with them and just being stuck on their face, So that was a relatively large influence as well, I would say.
So the film's premiering this week at Tribeca. What's your hope for audiences? What do you hope they take away with them after they watch your film?
Well, I want people to have a meaningful experience. I want them to be entertained. I want to distract them from their consciousness a little bit. We're in some dark times, man. Like I want people to have a couple laughs and maybe, they can walk out thinking a little bit about their upbringings as well. I think, if we all reflect on where we've come from and the kind of wounds we've inherited, we can all improve ourselves and process those things and hopefully, treat one another better and raise the next generation with fewer and fewer wounds.
So the film's world premiering Tribeca Film Festival in the U.S. Narrative section this Thursday night, June 5th. There's additional showings on June 6th, June 14th. Those shows are all sold out. There might still be rush tickets available, but as of the time we're recording this, you can still purchase tickets for Sunday, June 15th, 11:15 a.m. What's next after Tribeca? If people can't make it to Tribeca, is there a path for the film going forward at any other festivals? How can they follow the film? Is there a website, social media? Talk about that.
Absolutely, yeah. You can follow the film at Lemonade Blessing. You can also feel free to follow me at Crispy Merola. That's CRISPYMEROLA. We have a sales agent, really great sales agent, Submarine. So we're looking to sell at this festival. We're also out to a few other festivals right now. I can't announce, but we should definitely be playing at a few more in the States and outside the States for sure. And yeah, so hopefully we'll get distribution. And I'm looking forward to making some more films, man.
Well, it's a wonderful movie. First time film, right? All your crew, you're all Gen Zs.
Yes, we're figuring it out, dude.
You guys knocked it out of the park. Home run. Congratulations. It's called Lemonade Blessing. Thanks, Chris. Thanks so much for chatting with us today on Cherry the Geek TV.
Of course, man. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't have a crush, okay? I have a girlfriend.
Oh. Okay. Oh. It's a good girl. She's Catholic.
Say Jesus for me.
Hey, Dad. Guess what?
Hey, buddy, what's up?
I have a girlfriend.
Hey, same here. High five.
Oh, yeah, awesome. Good for you.